Yes, YouTube, back with another video. Let me just pause and fix this thing here, brother. Right, okay, fixed. Boy, I have to fix certain things, Anyway, as I said, back in the place to be. I've been involved in a lot of stuff offline. I know I keep saying that, but it's the truth. But today we're going to discuss Andrew Holness and the fact that, he's been embroiled in a lot of stuff to do with the, rumors and reported stuff about, the illicit 8 or the illicit 6. Apparently there's been gag orders going around to stop MPs from speaking about it. And reportedly there's also threats being dished out that anyone who speaks on this matter that defames the Prime Minister, is liable to get some type of lawsuit. Now, we've seen these type of tactics before. I'm not saying you shouldn't take it seriously. What I'm saying is it's not the first time people who are under the microscope of investigation would seek to limit or what they call damage control, and having the press and the media run off with certain things that will spread and expose anything that they would like to keep secret. Now, that doesn't mean the persons concerned are guilty, in this case Andrew Holness. But what I will do is I'll use the word reportedly, and in context the word reportedly, I'm going to use that just like how I'd say allegedly, because you can say allegedly or reportedly, kind of the same thing. Now I'm going to use those two words sort of like interchangeably, if you like. I'm going to go into this illicit 6 and all this corruption thing because it has to be talked about. We can't just sit here and just be gagged and not talk about the sitting Prime Minister of Jamaica, who is Andrew Holness, who is basically going under a lot of, there's too many scrutiny and too many stuff on his name, and I don't understand how people are not coming out and sort of either condemning or some type of vote of no confidence, or just basically forming some type of committee and saying, listen, this can't go on any longer, something needs to be done. Now, it could be well and true that the Prime Minister of Jamaica is innocent of the accusations against him, but at the end of the day, we still have to speak about it. We can't just ignore it. And for the Prime Minister's wishing well of the public to just ignore it, I think is a pipe dream. That's not going to happen. Now, with that said, we have to be careful what we say. So what I'm going to do in this video, I'm going to only comment on what's in the public space, or should I say what's in the public domain. And what I mean by that is something can be in the public domain, but it doesn't necessarily mean it comes from a credible source. I'm going to use credible source, and my credible source I'm going to use is either mainstream media, or that's been reported in the news, or I'm going to use the Integrity Commission themselves, reports and letters that they've put out. Now, that's what I'm going to use for the discussion of this video, and I'm going to go in because the first thing I want to say is I don't understand, where you have a situation where, Andrew Holness, his name is being called into question about sort of illicit enrichment, or can't, verify some of his assets and stuff in regards to his, lawful income. And we understand all of that and the reasons why those checks and balances are in place. But we have to discuss it because I don't understand why politicians, whether from the JLP side or the PNP side, doesn't have a vote of no confidence. If this was corporate, he would have been ousted from his position long time ago. You have to realize that the Prime Minister occupy an office, they occupy a seat, they come and they go, and all these MPs occupy seats, they come and they go, the seat remain. Okay, the seat is the office, the building is the office, the institution is the office, that remains. Okay, but the persons can come and go, but they still have to adhere by the rules and regulations and the constitution that's set down, that governs the operation and the conduct of how that office should be run, and the person who sits in the chair at any particular time was heading up and running that office, whether it's government, MP for finance, minister of this, that and the third. You get the picture. Now, what I don't understand is why there's not been the JLP members in particular coming together and ousting this man because of this. Because what the natural progression should have been is, once certain things is called on your name, is called into question, and the mud is sticking and it's just not going away, whether it's true or not, that's a different issue. We're not accusing anyone, What we're saying is, if the mud is sticking and the accusations are not going away, and it's coming from credible sources like the Integrity Commission, and I'm going to go into that, you have to realize that your office, that position you hold, is untenable, brother. You can't keep that position. It's that simple. You just can't keep it. I don't understand it. So what I think needs to happen is the JLP and the PNP should come together and form some type of committee and say, listen, we need to have a vote of no confidence. Because as I was about to say, in corporate, if the same thing happened in corporate media, all the other board members would have voted unanimously to oust that CEO from his chair and say, listen, you need to step down. And if you don't step down voluntarily and give some reason to the press, like, you know, sick, ill health, whatever other excuse you want to drum up, if you don't do that, we're going to go take you through the embarrassing ordeal of voting you out unanimously on a no confidence vote and force you to step down from your office. Okay? Now, once that is the case, then you can get on with the business of running, because you have to protect the integrity of the company. You have to protect the integrity of the corporation, and the people that form part of the executive body of that organization or corporate body have to protect their reputation too. Because as a wise person once said to me, if you throw a stone in a pig pen, the one that squeals, that's the one that got hit. You understand? And the great Bob Marley also said, who the cap fit, you can finish the sentence. So here we have a situation where you don't want to be seen to be in association with anyone that's got mud on their name. Okay? So if you look at the case with some celebrities like Diddy, for instance, look what's happening to him. With all this stuff going through the media, what happened? All the people that sponsor him, that does deals with him, whatever, they all pull back. They're not guilty of the accusation that's been levied against Diddy. The reason why they pull back is they don't want to be associated with that. Their brand is more important than Diddy and whatever stain he potentially can put on their brand. So they're going to disassociate themselves and separate themselves from him. And it's for good reason. They got their stock market, their stocks to think about. They got their investors to think about. They got advertising to think about. So for that reason, to keep their brand in good standing, they are going to make sure that they separate themselves from Diddy in that respect. And that is understandable. You know what I mean? And you can't blame that. So here we have a situation where politicians have the, especially the JLP I'm talking about now, the Jamaica Labour Party. You have the leader of your party and the prime minister of your country who have had all these accusations of gross, stuff on his name. And whether it's true or not, the right thing to do is to say, Mr. Prime Minister, you need to step down and recuse yourself of this position on pending these investigations that's being carried out by the Integrity Commission. Because your integrity is called into question. And if you don't do that, we're going to have to come together and form a vote to make you and force you to step down and force you into office, if it's even for the interim period. Now, if everything goes well and you're exonerated and the elections hasn't been called yet, you can resume your position in office. There's no apologies or nothing. That's just the logical rule book of how things should be conducted. And any politician who is not, pushing for that kind of let me look sideways and say, wait, are you part of the illicit eight who don't want this thing to be done? Or are you just as corrupt as the suggestions and the perceptions are on the Prime Minister, that you don't feel uncomfortable? You can sleep in your bed at night good and kiss your children good night at night and think to yourself, well, okay, all this stuff is on the Prime Minister, and all this stuff is also a bad reflection on the party. It's not just the Prime Minister, it's a bad reflection on the party, it's a bad reflection on you, the MPs that's in that party, and it's a bad reflection on the country, Jamaica, brand JLP, brand politicians, and brand Andrew Holness. This is a bad reflection across the board. And even the PNP is a bad reflection on them, because what they're saying is, you're the opposition, what are you doing? What are you doing to push for this no vote or no confidence? Because at the end of the day, you're a parliamentarian too. So you look at it under that umbrella, whether you sit on the JLP side of the aisle or you sit on the PNP side of the aisle, you're both brand parliamentarians. In other words, you're MPs, you're in parliament, you're doing your stuff. So if one side is not pushing to say, listen, this is looking bad for all of us in terms of the credibility and the integrity, we can't have this type of stain in parliament with a parliamentarian, and nothing is being done to at least address the situation or let him in, step down and have an intermediary in his stead until such situation. So that's looking bad for the PNP too. You know what I mean? Even though they're not accused of anything, or that's what we've been led to believe. Mark Golden has said there, as far as he's aware, there's no, none of his MPs or any of his members that is under any type of investigation from the Integrity Commission. So it seems as if they're more vociferous, if you like, in terms of calling for the illicit 6 or the illicit 8 to be named. And that's how it should be, because in the UK, when there's financial fraud or financial crime, the regulators fine you, imprison you, and name and shame you on a public record. You can go to their website. You can go to the government website right now and search up most of these financial institutions. I'm talking the biggest banks you can imagine. Go search up on the government website and see who get fined, how much them get fined, and why they were fined. Okay, so that's a thing. They publicize that information, and there's no, oh, if you publicize the information you're going to be lawsuit and this and that. No, that's the investigation. And we, as the public, should be able to speak on this matter with Andrew Holness. And you know why? Because speaking on this issue is not accusing him of being guilty. It's not a sentence to say you're guilty. No one is passing, and I haven't heard anyone come out. Well, I've never come out and say Andrew Holness is guilty of the stuff that he said. Okay, and I haven't heard much people say that are from a credible source. Okay, you got those YouTubers and bloggers, they'll say whatever, but for the most part, people who have substance and have more of a credible brand have never come out outright and accuse the Prime Minister that he's guilty of the things he's accused of. That's number one. Number two, he has no criminal record. There's no charges against him, and he's not been convicted of anything. So in other words, he's not been convicted of any illicit enrichment. He's not been charged for any illicit enrichment, and he's not been how can I put it now, pronounced guilty of any illicit enrichment. But what has happened is there has been reports coming from the Integrity Commission that says the information that he's given to them is false. And I'm like, wow, that's crazy. So I'm going to jump over and show you that quickly here. So just bear with me. Let me just show that to you, because this is not coming from me, it's coming from the Integrity Commission. Okay, so just so we're clear, as you can see here, Integrity Commission, Office of the Executive Director, you can see the address, telephone number, website, and the email address of Greg Christie. Okay, so take it up with him if you guys have any issue with it. So that's the first thing. Now I just want to quickly scroll down to a bit where they're literally accusing this man of basically they're accusing him. So I'm just going to read you this bit alone. Just this bit alone I'm going to share with you. Dear honorable speakers, so I'm reading here now. Okay, so just bear in mind this is what I'm going to be covering. So it says, dear honorable speaker, deputy speaker, honorable president, and clerk to the houses. Okay, resubmission of report of investigation conducted into the statutory declaration submitted by the most honorable Mr. Andrew Holness, Prime Minister for the years 2019 to 2022 in respect of concern that he owns assets disproportionate to his lawful earnings, and that he made false statements in his statutory declarations by way of omissions contrary to law. Okay, so they're basically saying that he's made false statements. There it is. He's made false statements in his declarations, his statutory declaration. It's the Integrity Commission I'm reading. It's their letter. Okay, and they've addressed this letter to these people named here. They're all there, and again they repeated the names of the people that they're addressing it to here. Paragraph 2 says, or second paragraph rather, says, I write further to the Commission's notice of April 6, 2023, a copy of which is attached herewith for your ease of convenience, obviously ease of read or for your reference, whatever, and more particularly with reference to the formal directions of Commissions, its Director of Investigation and its Director of Corruption Prosecution regarding the captioned investigation report. Here's another crucial bit. We ask, that you take special note that the subject of the referenced investigation is the most most honorable Prime Minister of Jamaica, who's obviously Andrew Holness, whose wife is the Honorable Speaker of the House of Representatives. In consequence and in the interest of good governance, the Honorable Speaker, which is obviously they're talking about Juliet Holness, the wife, may deem it appropriate to recuse herself from the parliamentary process that are and will be associated with this matter. It is for this reason that this letter is also addressed directly to the Deputy Speaker and the Clerk of the Houses too. So what this is basically saying is they want the Speaker not to interfere and not to use her position to try and block, delay, slow down, or interrupt in any way the proceedings of the investigation against her husband Andrew Holness. And they're also making that clear, not just to Juliet Holness, they're making that clear to the Deputy Speaker and also to the Clerk of the House, so which is in Parliament, like the Secretary or whatever. So what this is showing you is that they understand that there's a potential conflict of interest. And as you can see, they've also mentioned some names up here, which is obviously the Most Honorable Juliet Holness, which is also the Speaker of the House. Then you have Heroy Clark, MP, who is the Deputy Speaker of the House. So he's the Deputy Speaker of the House. Juliet Holness, as we know, is the Speaker of the House of Representatives. Then there is Tom Tavares Finson, who is the President of the Senate. And they've also addressed this letter to Clerk to the House of Parliament, who is Colleen Lowe. So what I'm saying to you is they are, in terms of the Integrity Commission, they are fully aware of the potential interference because of the conflict of interest, or nepotism, or whatever you want to call it, because of the connection between the sitting Prime Minister and his wife being Speaker of the House. And this is why a lot of us, including myself, have been saying from day one, there should never, and they need to change the law, there should never be a situation. Common sense tell you this. You don't have to be the smartest person in the world. Common sense tells you that if your husband or your wife is the Prime Minister of a country or President of a country, you cannot be the Speaker of the House as the husband or the spouse or whatever, or the partner. That is a direct conflict of interest, and that's ripe for corruption and nepotism. And because of that, we hear all these accusations of stuff that's not been tabled and stuff that's passed to the House to be tabled. It's not been tabled, and it can't be tabled, for as I understand it, unless Juliet Holness gives the green light and the go ahead for it to be tabled, because she's the Speaker of the House, is she not? Anyway, I'm gonna end this here because I'm gonna do some more deep dive for those who wants to get the full 9 yards, because I want to give you a little snippet of the document. There's more documents and there's more that I need to say. I'm about to turn up on this. I'm about to turn up, brother. But you have to go up on Patreon and get that, because I'm not turn up over here, so. Okay, but over there, so. Hey, brother, I forgot to talk up the things them, because I'm not hold back, I'm not holding back at all. But if you want to see that, Patreon, we say. Alright? And with that said, I'm out.